Hey, what's up everybody? Commander Radix here, bringing you another episode of Transformers Lore. Today we're going to talk about how the Terracon officer Scorponok might be the Decepticon officer Thrust. But before we get into the main topic of this video, I'd like to mention that nearly 80% of you watching are not subscribed to the channel yet. If you like what you see in the video and want to see more that Transformers Lore has to offer, please consider subscribing. It'll help the channel grow, and it's a great free way to support me and video production on the channel. And hey, you can always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. But with that out of the way, let's jump into today's topic. Universe RX 802.23 Alpha, though this can also apply to RX 103.10 Alpha. The year was 2010, and the planet Cybertron had fallen under attack from the Chaos-Bringer Unicron as part of the never-ending theomachy against his brother and rival Primus. Unicron had been feeding off the energies of the ongoing Autobot-Decepticon war to repair himself, disguising himself as Cybertron's moon. Now it was time to strike, thanks to his accumulated energy as well as the power of his creations, the Minicons. However, Unicron was not alone in this endeavor. That was the Unicron battles. One of his lieutenants, Sideways, was assisting him, and sometimes served as a conduit for Unicron's own consciousness. However, while Sideways had served Unicron for quite some time, Unicron was also assisted by a new herald, a Decepticon by the name of Thrust. Thrust was one of the Decepticon Empire's greatest tacticians and had helped to bring the Decepticons close to victory time and time again. However, Thrust was ambitious, and, during the recent campaigns on Earth, Thrust's contact with Sideways brought him into alignment with the Chaos-Bringer. Now, Thrust stood upon the service of Unicron as he relished the destruction of his home planet and the joint Autobot-Decepticon armada that opposed him. However, Thrust's arrogance was smashed as soon as the Decepticon Emperor Galvatron arrived, and, after a failed attack, Thrust was caught between Unicron's plating. Though Thrust begged Galvatron for help, Galvatron refused, and Thrust was crushed to death by his own master. And that is where Thrust's story would have ended. We'll come back to that. But now, let's rewind to a point well before the Unicron battles. Although, the timing can get a little bit iffy, it could also be after the Unicron battles. Unicron roamed the galaxy in search of planets to consume to gain power, and he attacked the world known as Planet Q, led by Alpha Quintesson, or Alpha Q, and populated by a group of Cybertronian-like transformers known as Terracons. Their origin is up to some speculation, and I have my own ideas, but for the time being, let's focus on the topic at hand. Alpha Q's Grand Chamberlain, a large Terracon named Scorponok, a much more confident leader than Alpha Q, who is frozen in fear at the sight of Unicron. Scorponok determines that the only way to defeat Unicron is to detonate the planet's core, killing everyone. Though Planet Q would be destroyed, Unicron would be incapacitated and would not destroy another planet. Scorponok took it upon himself to do this, detonating the planet core and greatly wounding Unicron. In the process, the Terracons and Scorponok himself were destroyed. It's a little bit weird with the timing of this. This could have happened over millions of years ago, and Unicron took the form of Cybertron's moon to repair himself before reawakening in the Unicron battles. Or Unicron survived the Unicron battles and went around the galaxy consuming worlds to refuel before being taken out by Planet Q's explosion, sometime between 2010 and 2020. It's hard to tell. Anyway, this is where Scorponok's story would have ended. However, Alpha Q survived the explosion of Planet Q and resided within Unicron's near-dead corpse. Eventually, Alpha Q learned how to harness the power of Unicron to create life, and with it, Alpha Q planned on reviving Planet Q. However, Unicron needed more energon to do so. In 2020, Alpha Q used Unicron to revive the non-sentient Terracons, but to create a more complex being like Scorponok, Alpha Q needed something more. Alpha Q needed a spark. Thankfully, Alpha Q discovered a Decepticon spark caught inside Unicron in some way, shape, or form, and used that spark to create a new Scorponok. Now, this detail is interesting to me as the show felt the need to give us the detail of Scorponok's origin, and specifying that there was a Decepticon spark just left around Unicron that Alpha Q used. The only Decepticons worth noting we see die on Unicron in the Unicron battles are Galvatron and Thrust, and we know that Galvatron's spark is still within Unicron, channeling Energon to revive his body. We don't know what happened to Thrust. If it was some generic Decepticon, I don't think it would be worth pointing out in the show that Scorponok had a Decepticon spark. I think Transformers Energon, or rather Superlink since the Energon staff forgot to dub this one, was hinting at the fact that the spark that was used to revive Scorponok was indeed Thrust's spark. Though their voice actors are different in the original Japanese versions of the show, both Thrust and Scorponok share the same voice actor, Colin Murdoch. With the evidence laid out for this, I think it is very possible that the second Scorponok, the Scorponok we see the most of in Transformers Energon, could be a reincarnated and reformatted Thrust, and as the Autobots fight him on the battlefield or later befriend him, they are facing off against and later befriending the very spark that led the Decepticons on numerous successful campaigns, and the spark that betrayed the Cybertronian race to Unicron. This Scorponok would eventually die during the Power Links battles, but this was not the end for his spark. In the American cartoon continuity, this Scorponok would be revived in 2030 as a distraction by Unicron as the zombie-like Dark Scorponok. It is interesting that Unicron picks Scorponok to be his minion, going all the way to teleport Scorponok to Cybertron despite the fact that Unicron is low on energy, and nearly dead since Scorponok has no connection to Unicron unless he is indeed Thrust. Dark Scorponok was eventually shot down and destroyed, however, ending his service to his true master. In the Japanese cartoon continuity, he is instead revived as Curse Armada Thrust and brought across the multiverse to the Japanese Generation 1 continuity as a servant of Unicron. Curse Armada Thrust harbors negative feelings towards Unicron before ultimately switching sides to the Autobots, where he enjoys his time as a member of the Aerial Bots. Why would Curse Armada Thrust so willingly join the Autobots if not for the fact that he had spent a significant amount of time as Scorponok fighting for a cause higher than himself? Either way, Curse Armada Thrust from the Japanese continuity gets a happier ending among friends, when compared to the American continuity Dark Scorponok, who becomes a zombie and disintegrates in the Unicron Singularity Crisis. And that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I do videos on a range of topics that includes history and Transformers, so if you're a nerd who likes nerdy things, consider subscribing to the channel. As I said before, nearly 80% of you haven't subscribed yet. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. Don't forget to check out all my social media links in the description to see what's going on with me. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.